In this series of videos, I'm going to show you how to bring your sketches to life in 3D using Blender. This series assumes a basic knowledge of Blender, but we also won't be going over anything overly complex. In this episode, we're going to model our first character and apply some basic materials. In future videos, we will model the second character, set up lights and cameras, cover render settings, as well as some basic post-processing in Photoshop. So let's jump in. I've got Blender open here. I'm going to delete the default cube. I'm going to press Shift A. I'm going to add a reference image. Here's my sketch here, so I'm going to drop it in, and then I'm going to press N to bring up the properties, and I'm just going to reset the rotation like that. And then if I press 1 on my keyboard, it's going to go to front view, so we now want to rotate this so it's visible in front view. So here's the sketch. It's very dumb, it's very basic, some little characters here, and we're going to start blocking it out. I'm going to create some primitive shapes. So the first thing I'm going to make for the head, we're going to model the head, and I'm going to make a UV sphere down here. I'm going to set the number of segments to 64. Then I'm going to rotate it on the Y by 90. I'm going to go into wireframe mode here, press B to box select, and I'm going to select half of the sphere. Then I will extrude by pressing E, tab, and scale it down. And then we're going to press G and kind of just move it into the right position. That seems pretty good to me. And then if we come into solid mode and we move the sketch back a bit, there you go. Here's our head. We are going to press the search and shade smooth. Let's come into wireframe mode just so that we can see everything else. Let's add the glasses. And I think to do that, we'll add a circle. We'll rotate it on the X, and we will move it into position. Edit mode, E, scale. Select all of those. E again to extrude on the Z. Let's come back into solid mode, bring it forward, and scale it down a bit. And also, I'm going to make it slightly thinner, maybe by pressing Shift and Alt, and then clicking one of these vertices. Then I can scale it down a little bit, and also do the same here. If you press Shift, Alt, and then click on one of these, it's going to select the whole edge loop. I'm going to just make it a bit thinner here, and let's come into wireframe mode. Duplicate and move it along. Again, if it doesn't line up exactly with your sketch, it doesn't matter too much. The sketch is supposed to be very rough anyway. Add a cube. Scale it down. We're just creating that middle bit in the glasses now. And scale it that way. Something like that, and then bring it forward, obviously. Okay, glasses done. Let's do the eyes now. Let's make another UV sphere, 64 segments, shade smooth, scale it down super small, and then just bring it into position using G, and then bring it forward a bit. Pretty small, let's go like that. Control D, duplicate it. Now let's do these little strands of hair. For this we're going to use a curve, and we're going to rotate by 90 on the Y, and rotate by 90 on the Z. Come back into front view, move it. Okay, it's like way too big, scale it down. Bring it down. So I went into edit mode on the curve, and we can start positioning these handles, kind of make it the curve as we like it. We're going to add some depth to the curve. So if we open the geometry panel, here we have depth. I think if we go for like 0.05, and then you can see it's a bit not very smooth. So we can add more resolution here. Is that what this does? Yeah. So if we add this to 64, And the same with the render, because if you don't change the render one, it will look good on the viewport, but then when you render it, it will look crap. Duplicate, move it across. Okay, I'm going to do the hat. Another sphere, 64. Wireframe, edit mode, back into vertice mode. Box select, delete vertices. Okay, so that's like the top bit of the hat. Shift Alt click to select the loop. Press E, scale out a bit, E, scale down. Come back into solid mode so we can kind of see here. I'm going to press E, scale in, and then E, scale up. Oh, and then F just to fill that hole. Maybe shade this smooth. Yeah, so open the search window, shade smooth. Now this looks weird, right? Because it's trying to smooth out this edge here, which should be actually hard. Like all the other edges should be soft, but some of the edges we want to be hard. So to fix that, we can press Ctrl R to add a loop cut. Then if we bring it down, you can see the shading being affected as we do that. So now if we come out, you can see that's a nice hard edge. We can do the same wherever we notice that it's kind of trying to soften the edge where we don't want it. So like here, probably here, maybe here. I mean, we're never going to see the inside of the hat, but may as well. May as well just do it. So it looks good. There we go. Now let's position it. Oh, I accidentally deleted it. Something like that. I think the arms are going to be separate to the body. It's just going to be one long tube that goes like through one arm, across and up again. So let's create a cube. I know I said tube, but this will be easier. We can model it as a cube and then we'll add a subdivision surface modifier to smooth it out afterwards. Scale X. Now let's add a crap ton of loop cuts. So press Ctrl R. Use the scroll wheel to add more loop cuts. Let's go for that many. Okay. Then we can select this face and press Z to lock it to the Z and bring it down. Again, it doesn't have to line up exactly with the sketch. Same here. Oh, press G instead of E. Maybe do the neck. So we've got the body as a very crap looking cube. If we add a subdivision surface modifier, it's a bit smoother now, but you can see here on the elbows it's not as tight. So Ctrl R, loop cut, and see we can bring it to where we want it. Same with the wrists. Let's do the same here. Let's do the same here. And that's looking a bit better. Let's do it for the neck. Search menu, shade smooth. Now let's do the hands. Let's add a cube, put it into position. Make it a bit smaller on the Y scale. Now we add loop cuts for each finger. How many fingers? We have 4 fingers. Well, this guy does. So about there. Then we can select each one of these and extrude it. Just rough for now. Okay, we want to bring this loop cut up a bit to like here. Then we kind of want to bring these fingers out a little bit. Now let's add a subdivision modifier, smooth it. Looks very bad, so let's add some loop cuts just to make the fingers less pointy and also to give us a point at which we can bend the finger, right? So probably in the middle. Yeah, see now if we wanted to, we could grab the end of each finger, bring it back on the Y to just give it a bit more of a 3D feel. He doesn't have a thumb. Actually, this one does look a bit like a thumb on the drawing, so let's bring this finger out a bit. Bring this part of the hand out a bit. I just duplicated the hand, brought it up, flipped it so it's sort of the fingers are coming forwards. I'm also going to flip it on the X. so that both of these fingers are pointing inwards. Let's move on to the trousers. I'm going to add a cube, scale it down, scale it in the X. I'm going to add a loop cut for each of the legs. Scale it down for each leg, just like we did with the fingers. Now I'm going to just separate them each a bit and also bring the old crotch up a bit. In fact, probably that whole loop. Something like that. And again, we'll add a subdivision modifier when we're done. We're also going to add one extrusion for each of these, which is just like the cuffs of the shorts. And we'll add a subdivision modifier. Let's try 2 subdivisions and we'll shade it smooth. Add a loop cut, bring it up a bit. Add a cube, bring it down. Let's just bring this down. Add a loop cut. Bring this across. Add a subdivision surface. Loop cut. Shade smooth. Move it. Flip it. Let's go back into wireframe. We're going to add a very basic mouth. In fact, maybe let's duplicate the head. Scale it way down. And then bring it where we want the mouth. Something like that. Possibly even smaller. Smaller, but slightly longer. So I'm going to come into edit mode, bring that across a little bit. Solid mode. Alright, I think we're ready to add some materials. Yeah, I just made up some colors before that I thought would go well together. And for anyone watching who is maybe frustrated that I didn't make the materials from scratch, I'll just do one material just so you know if you didn't how to do it. Let's delete the material on the legs. Press new. Got a material here. First of all, choose a color. Down with this color picker. You can choose whatever color you want. Let's take a yellow, and then you can just double click, name it yellow, and then if you want to apply that same material to another object, just click on it, drop down, click your material, yellow. I'm just going to add some basic color here. We're going to go into material preview mode. There we go. Let's do the skin. I think this red color. You can always make up your own colors. You can always use a tool like Coolers to just go and generate a color scheme to add to your model and try out some different ones. I'm gonna add black to the hairs. Let's try brown for the boots. Add skin to this one. Okay, so for the top, we want stripes. So we're going to add some loop cuts here as well, just so we have some stripes. To that, to that. Now we're going to hold Alt and Shift and click different loops like this. You have to click the loop on one of the edges, otherwise it's going to screw up. This one I have to manually select, which is annoying. Something like this. Let's choose this blue. That's going to apply it to the whole mesh, but if we now press the plus, make a new material, and let's choose the yellow again. So we press assign, and it's only going to assign yellow to those stripes. We're going to change the trousers to use the brown instead, and we're going to have yellow shoes. Yellow, and yellow, like this. I'm going to bring the mouth so that it's closer to the head. Same with the glasses and the eyes and things. Now we're going to add some whites to the eyes. So to do that, we're going to add another circle, 64 vertices, rotate by 90, bring it around. I just went into edit mode and I filled the circle. Now bring it behind the pupils and we're going to give it a white material. So just press new, white. There we go. Looking good. On the trousers he has these pockets. I'm not really sure the best way to make these, but let's have a go. I have an idea. To make these, I'm going to create a cylinder, 64 vertices, rotate it on the X by 90, scale it down. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to duplicate both the trousers and this. I'm going to add a Boolean modifier to the trousers, and I'm going to set the object to this cylinder, and we'll set it to intersect. Then if we hide this cylinder, boom, you see what we've got here? We're going to create a new material, call it pocket. Okay, delete this cylinder first. Bring both the cylinder and the pocket back to position. Hide the cylinder again. Here we have the pocket. If we actually just parent the cylinder to the pocket, now we can then hide the cylinder, move the pocket, and the cylinder is going to move with it, which is fine. Scale it up a little bit so it's always showing. There's a few little artifacts which I'm going to try and resolve. What if I up the subdivisions? That does seem to solve them pretty much. Let's just move it a little bit. I think that is good enough. So instead of just applying the Boolean, let's apply the subdivision first, then apply the Boolean. Now we can hide this, and we have, it's perfect, it's perfect. So now we have the pocket, and there's no Boolean going, so it's actually much more performant. So let's duplicate the pocket now, flip it, and then pop it back on the other side. Let's set the origin on these to the center, because right now the origin is not correct. So search, set origin, origin to geometry. There you go. Now you can see these little yellow dots are in the center of each of these. Let's give the heel a bit more. Just adding a loop cut to make the heel look a bit better. Okay, we're going to add the little bit on the end of the glasses. So to start that, I'm actually going to take the middle section of the glasses, bring it along. Then extrude, rotate on the Y, move it down. We're going to just basically try and model a little semicircle here, just by rotating, moving, that kind of stuff. Let's look at it in material mode. I think it would be better if they were just both a bit thicker. So if you scale and then you press shift and then an axis, so if I press scale and then press shift X, it's going to scale on all the axes apart from X, right? So if I grab both of these, shift, scale, shift X, scale, you see it's making it thicker, but it's not making it longer, which is a useful tip. So the question is, do we add subdivision to these glasses? Because that will make them rounder, but I think it actually looks quite nice when they're flat like that. Okay, you know what? I've changed my mind. I want the subdivision. I want the circular glasses. Let's add to these. And let's add a loop cut. Bring it right up. Shade these smooth. Subdivision. Loop cuts. Shade smooth. Same here. Now I just wish that the actual lenses were a bit thicker. We'll select this inner one, We'll bring it down a bit so it's a bit thicker. And then we will delete this, duplicate this, bring it along. And I'm going to scale these up even more, just so they match. Nice. In the next video, we will be modeling the second character in our sketch. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this tutorial. Make sure to subscribe and like the video, you'd really be helping me to get my content out to people's eye holes. Peace.